right. How's everybody doing?
Good. How
Doing
are
all
you?
right. I'm gonna give everyone a couple of minutes to get their social media set up, get
Yeah.
going live. In the meantime, normally I usually ask like a really soft question, but I've got a hardball for you guys today.
Oh no.
Ooh.
Who here has not had the best toothbrushing schedule since lockdown started? I
Mine is
have.
so mine is so erratic, but I tell you, I'm actually brushing more. I'm brushing it 3 or 4 times a day because I don't know how people know this, but I have a crazy shift job that I do in the middle of the day. Somebody's got their mic up. Okay, that's you, Lauren. You're the culprit. Okay. Um, but it's just 4 or 5 times a day I'm brushing my teeth, and I just don't feel like I'm doing a good enough job.
See, I haven't missed any, but some of my like morning brushings have been at like 3 p.m.
Mm. Well,
Um,
that's because you're putting in some serious hours doing all this stuff.
that's true, but
Yeah.
still some days where I wake up at 8 and don't get to it.
Yeah. I think Chris, you're muted, and I think Lauren, you're muted.
Yeah, I think they're still working on their
Oh, you're getting yourself
Periscope,
up.
which is
Okay, once you
making
get
sure
yourself up,
they've
we
got all
should be
that.
able to unmute you and get you going.
I recently got one of those electric toothbrushes that have those like
The
little
Sonicare deals.
timers. Yeah, well, it's like every 30 seconds it like the vibrations shift so that you know when my teeth feel like I've been to a dentist like every day. It's kind of nice.
Yeah, but what's more important than brushing is the flossing.
It's the flossing. See, I'm
Flossing.
not the best about flossing.
Me neither. I brush regularly and I fail to floss. I'm so sorry, Mom, if you're watching.
Well, my wife lets me know, and also the face mask lets me know now.
Yes, I did. I did once go out. I think it was like we wanted to go early in the morning so that we beat the like rush.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I'll just, I haven't eaten breakfast. I'll just brush my teeth after I ate breakfast, put it on. And I was like, oh no.
Yes. Yes.
It's
How
so
are we
funny.
doing, Chris? Are you set up down there?
He's muted.
Chris, you're muted. There we go. You all set up? You ready to go?
Oh, dude, am I controlling my own mute, or is somebody else
Yeah.
doing it?
Yeah, you control your mute. We've got somebody in the background that will mute us if need be.
Okay.
But
I
we
was
had everybody set up on mute initially so that you could get your live streams up. So I don't know if you got your live stream up on your end.
yeah, I don't have live stream. I'm good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. If so, we're ready to go. I want to start with some introductions. First, I want to.
Well, first, we got to let everybody know that Tomas Ramos was supposed to come in with us today, and unfortunately, he is really sick right now, so he couldn't join us today. And knock on wood, hopefully, it's not the big one, the big issue with COVID or anything. But he's not feeling well. We're hoping that he is going to get the rest that he needs and prepare for that debate that he's got tomorrow.
We miss you, Tomas.
Yes, we do.
Wishing you well. So, I was going to do that at the end, but making me look like a jerk.
Yeah, sorry.
Anyway, Albert, why don't you start off, introduce yourself and talk a little bit about your campaign.
Thank you, Sam. So my name is Albert Lee, and I'm running to represent the people of the 3rd District of Oregon. For those that are in the 3rd District of Oregon, you already know we're in the middle of voting right now. We have been in the middle of voting for the last 3 weeks. Oregon is the first state in the nation to provide vote by mail, and we've been doing it for 20 years. So you guys know the drill. You've already had your voters pamphlet. We have our information there. Please do get your votes in. If you're doing it by mail, by the 14th in the mailbox, and otherwise drop it off at the ballot box by the 19th. But I'm running to represent the people of the 3rd District with a focus on working folks, people that haven't really, gotten the representation that they need. It's time that we uplift some new voices from some other backgrounds, from some other lived experiences to represent us here in the most diverse district of our state.
Thanks. And I'm also joined by Lauren Ashcraft, one of my favorite slate mates that we've got going.
Oh my gosh, you guys are some of mine. Also, vote for Albert or I'm going to be really mad at you, Oregon. I'll find you. So my name is Lauren Ashcraft, and I am on Brandon Congress's slate with some of my besties. I'm running for Congress in New York's 12th congressional district, which was the former future home of Amazon's headquarters, and we're so glad they didn't come. My opponent, actually 27-year corporate Democrat incumbent, tries to push Amazon on us and is quoted as saying, "I don't know why people are protesting jobs." So if you can imagine how I feel about
Oh, we
that,
got a lot to talk about that, huh?
yeah, I was gonna say, imagine how honored I am to be in the presence of Chris Smalls here. So I am running as a grassroots candidate, totally people powered, totally rejecting the corporate PAC money of the likes of Amazon and all corporations, and just running to make sure that we have one more person in Congress that is going to say, hey, in the middle of a pandemic, maybe it's the people that need relief and protection and safety rather than the corporations. So running for single payer Medicare for all, Green New Deal, abolishing student debt, and also to tax the corporations and billionaires their fair share. Let's do this.
Yes.
And finally, we're joined by American hero, Chris Smalls. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, your story, and then what you're looking to do going forward?
Absolutely. It's an honor to be here on this platform with you guys tonight. Albert and Lauren doing great work in their district. And for those who don't know, I'm Chris Smalls, a former Amazon employee that stood up for health and safety concerns here in Staten Island, New York. Back in March when this pandemic hit the States, we were unprotected. We had no PPE, we had no cleaning supplies. The company didn't enforce the right proper safety guidelines. Because as a result of that, I was forced to take further action, which resulted into a walkout that turned into my termination. Catapulted me into this platform, this spotlight. For the last 2 months, I've been speaking out, and you can kind of say started a revolution, but I believe that it's one common goal for all of us right now. We all need to come together as working class people. We all feel like this pandemic exposed a lot about this nation, about what's going on, these billionaires and one percenters. It's not new to America, but I think now it's time for change. And I think these two wonderful people on the line with me tonight are definitely front runners for that. So I support them, and I'm happy to be here.
Thank you, Chris. And one more time, I just want to focus on giving props where props are due. Chris has stood up. This is a huge risk. He paid for it with his job. This is something that is near and dear to my heart, is near and dear to Lauren's heart. Yes. We need to strengthen workers' rights. We need to make sure that we're taking care of regular, everyday folks. And quite honestly, what our Congress has done in these last several weeks has been focused on those at the very top. Trillions of dollars going into Wall Street, trillions of dollars in handouts for them, a paltry $1,200 check to some of us, not all of us. And then for frontline workers like Chris, frontline workers like the ones that are at our grocery stores, we need to protect them. And we need to make sure that we're taking care of everybody here. I mean, that's kind of the purpose and the point of our federal government, is to make sure that we have a country that is working for all of us, not just those at the top. So thank you, Chris, for standing up and having that bravery. But here's the thing. We need everybody else to stand up in solidarity with Chris. They can't mow us all down, right? Not if we all stand up, right?
Right. Absolutely. Agreed.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
And that kind of leads into my first question, which is, what can we on the outside do? What is it that I, as just a regular American, do to help stand up for people like Chris, for other workers who are in a similar situation?
I'll tell you what, the first thing you can do is boycott Amazon. That's what we've been doing in our household. And come on, it's an inconvenience. It's not life or death to boycott Amazon. It just means you're going to be waiting extra days. And here's the other thing. Don't go out purchasing non-essential stuff. Get the stuff that you need that are essential for your life, but don't put other people at risk so that you can, have another cushy pillow or whatever. Really focus on that. And here's the thing: with most of the companies that are doing business with Amazon, if you go to them directly, you're cutting out that middleman. You're cutting out that profit for the richest man in the world, and you're getting that directly to the people that are providing the goods and services. So boycott Amazon, boycott Walmart, Amazon, all of them, and really focus on the companies that are doing things the right way.
Absolutely. Agreed.
Also vote. We have to vote because like I'm represented by somebody who's taken Amazon's money and who hasn't stood up for people like Chris Smalls who are fighting for lives of people that might not even exist yet. Like you're fighting for safety of workers in this country. It's not just Amazon. Like this is a movement. And so we need people representing and fighting for this movement at all levels. And the longer that we keep electing the status quo, the more we're going to see people having to lose their jobs because they're protesting for their lives.
Absolutely.
Go ahead.
I was going to add on to exactly what you said. We're only as essential as our health. Being a front line and being a first responder, if we're contracting this virus and coming home to our families and our communities, we're not essential. So for the consumers and for the American people, like Albert said, boycott these companies until they protect their employees. We're in the trenches, we're in the communities, not these billionaires. They're off the grid in their mansions, putting us to work to bring in the money for them. This is why they want to reopen the economy, because we have to be out there making this money, not them.
Right.
So we put our health.
That's the thing. You're making the money for them, and that's kind of the way this whole capitalist system works. You're the one that produces the wealth, and then they go and extract that wealth with very little input into it. Now, I don't know how many people had an opportunity to see Chris on 60 Minutes the other day, but before, I think it was like a 15-minute segment, but they spent the first 9 minutes or so with an Amazon exec who went on to talk about all the things that they're doing well at Amazon. And then when the journalists started asking about Chris in particular, and for the other folks that were terminated, his off the cuff answer was, "Oh, well, they violated some issue or another." Couldn't list anything in particular, so it was something after the fact that they picked out to terminate these folks. So again, we need to boycott these companies, and you need to vote for folks that are going to be champions of the people. Now, I know that Lauren and I are one of, or two of hundreds of progressives around the country that are standing up, that are saying enough is enough, that we're not taking corporate contributions because we want to represent the people. We don't want to represent these corporations. And quite frankly, these corporations and these wealthy individuals have gotten away with way too much. They've gotten away with shirking responsibilities for their input, their taxes into our society, into our government, into our country. They're able to do things like these corporate inversions and send their headquarters overseas so that they can further reduce their tax liabilities to our country, and then all the offshore tax havens that they have. We need to really wrestle that. I know that there were a couple of things that we pointed out on our Twitter page today. One was the chart demonstrating how they've gone from the highest tax percentage bracket down to the lowest over the course of 100 years. We need to reverse that. We need to redistribute the wealth. And then the other thing was a chart that we pointed out where it clearly demonstrates, what a trillion, what $1 billion is. It's really hard to imagine or really understand what kind of a difference, what kind of a wealth gap we have between those like Jeff Bezos and the rest of us who have an average median household income of $63,000. It is immense. It is obscene. It's immoral, and we need to do something to fix that.
I mean, did you ever see that video about, it's illustrated with grains of rice, how much money Jeff Bezos has?
No, but it was a similar concept of the thing that we posted. Yeah, it's ridiculous. We've already said it. We've already said it, right? The billionaires should not exist, and trillionaires. You're talking about Jeff Bezos is on his way to being the first trillionaire.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely should. And look, it's ridiculous because I know we've already talked about the fact that he was asking for donations so that people can have leave at Amazon.
No, I mean, he could pay for it himself.
Right, and let me tell you
Literally.
about that relief fund was just total nonsense because basically they offered an Amazon relief fund for people that need relief, but in order to get the relief, you have to test positive. So
Oh, so wait. You're telling me you got to get sick first?
right, you got to get sick in order to get the relief. I applied for it myself when I was still employed because obviously my kids went on homeschool in the beginning of March, and I'm a single parent.
Let's put a pause right there. You said your kids. How many kids do you have?
I have twins, 1 boy, 1 girl, and I take care of the older brother, so 3 altogether.
And how old are they?
My twins are 7, and their older sibling is 10.
Right there. I mean, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about families that are being directly affected by this.
Right. So I approached. My concern was, what am I going to do now? My kids are being homeschooled. I have to take off work. I can't. I'm a single parent, and I had to take care of my kids. So I went to my HR department about the Amazon Relief Fund. I applied for it. It takes 2 weeks to get a response. When I got the response back, I was denied, and the denial letter basically said that I needed some type of documentation saying that I tested positive. So you don't even get relief unless you have the virus. And so I'm like, okay, all this money, the $25 million they raised for it, or allegedly raised for it, where did it go? It didn't come to the people because we didn't test positive. We weren't getting it. You know, and Jeff Bezos made $24 billion during this pandemic. He profited the most. People got to understand that he made blood money off of the fact that his workforce is out here getting sick and actually dying. People have died at my building where I tried to prevent that. So somebody needs to be held accountable for that. What do you tell these families? There's no amount of money that you can make. It's going to replace the loss of a life. So it's a sad situation that we're in because I'm still fighting for them. And something needs to be done. Some change needs to be happening.
Well,
now.
this is a combination of things, right? It's a combination of dereliction of duty for these corporations, but it's also a dereliction of duty from our government. We have the power here to provide an emergency economic support of $2,000 per person, $500 per dependent per month. We could do that. I mean, if we looked at how much we spent already in sinking into Wall Street in March to the tune of $2 trillion, the $500 billion that was given away to corporations, right there, that could have taken care of an emergency economic support for the rest of the year. But again, our focus, because our members of Congress, for the most part, are part of the 1%, and the majority of them, vast majority of them, take money from corporations and the wealthy. Their focus is on those folks.
The other thing, I was just going to say, the other thing that keeps happening is all these politicians are talking about reopening this and reopening that. Have the problems been solved?
No.
No. So what the heck? How can you even think about next steps if you haven't?
Well, their whole point is to save the economy versus saving people's lives. But because their money is worth more than our lives.
If they understood the basics of how our economy works, though, the federal government can fix that later. What they have to do is keep people alive, because you can't fix people who die.
Right.
It just makes me so mad.
Absolutely.
And it should make every single voter mad. And it should make every single voter rise up and say enough is enough, and we need to change the system. We need to pass the torch, and we need to get these career politicians who have been in 20, 30, 40 years out. Their time is gone. It's time that we uplift some new voices from the people, so that people are going to have representation in this government, that is going to have a government that's going to work for all of us. And again, that's not going to happen unless we make it happen.
Absolutely.
It's also thanks to people like Chris. Like, you've raised your voice and stood up for your morals, and a lot of people wouldn't know about what goes on at these companies if it weren't for people like you. So I'm sure it is a scary thing. What has the emotions of this been for you?
Well, I tell you the truth. In the beginning, it was very hard. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know which way to turn. My whole life changed within 24 hours. I was put on quarantined March 28th by the company, and I had to do something. I spent 40, 50, 60 hours with these employees. I consider them my extended family. Been with the company since 2015.
Wait, so when they put you on quarantine, was that paid?
Yeah, I didn't get paid for it though.
You didn't.
They terminated me, so that never happened. So yeah, they put me on quarantine because I sent my colleague home on March 24th. She was positive. The way their policy is, which is ridiculous as well, the policy set up where you're allowed to come to work sick as a dog until they receive the physical documentation from the doctors that say you tested positive, which can take a number of days. Obviously here in the epicenter of New York, that takes time. So she was at work for a number of days for 10-hour shifts, engaged with hundreds of people in our department for a number of days. If I didn't send her home, that'd have been another 10-hour shift. But when I returned back to work on March 24th, I
possibly
sent her,
infecting 10 other people, 100 other people.
right. And she was sick the day I seen her. So she being my friend, she listened to me, she left. 2 hours later, that's when we learned about our first confirmed case. The guy was in the building on March 11th. At that point, I was expecting us to do what the Queens, New York building did. They closed down, sent everybody home with pay, sanitized, everybody returned back the next day, even though that's not enough time, but they did something. I was expecting Staten Island to do the same thing. My upper management told us, no, don't tell the employees. That right there was my last time working for Amazon.
No, don't tell the employees.
Don't tell the employees. They're going to individuals that worked on that side of the building where the guy was at. Didn't make sense to me. We don't know how long he had it. Don't know where he got it from. That was my thinking, So that was my last time working for them. I walked out, returned back to the building the entire week, off the clock, sat in the cafeteria for 8 hours a day, telling the employees the truth, that they possibly been exposed to somebody who tested positive. At the end of the week, on March 28th is the day they decided to quarantine me and nobody else. Just me. Not even the person I ride to work with. Not even none of the employees that were exposed to my colleague who tested positive for 10 hours. I was only around her for 5 minutes or less. I had a conversation telling her she's sick, you need to go home, and she went home. Other than that, they didn't quarantine nobody else. So I knew right there when I got quarantined that it was just a target to silence me. That's the reason why I decided to mobilize that walkout on March 30th. And that's the excuse that they have for terminating me, because I allegedly violated the quarantine policy that didn't even exist. It didn't
And
exist.
it wasn't just you, it was other folks that were terminated as well, right?
No, initially it was me. What happened over the last couple of weeks, they've been retaliating against people. That day, I was the only one. And over the past couple of weeks, there's been others that have been terminated.
Now, did I hear right that the state is taking a look at your case for wrongful termination?
Well, actually, they included all of us. So the 9 senators that sent out the U.S. letter the other day, they included all of us. I don't want to say all of us. I think it was about 5 of us on that letter. But I believe it's a total of 7. There were some that were left out. They probably just overlooked it by accident. But I believe there's more people that was terminated during the pandemic. But I believe that the fight is for all of us as well. If one of us get reinstated, I think we all should.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of wanted to lead into a question about what made you different. Why is it that, what do you think sets you apart that, this is happening to tens, hundreds of thousands of workers all across the country, not just at Amazon? Why do you think what in your head made you stand up when others didn't?
Well, a part of being a whistleblower is being, the first one to pretty much do it. And I believe at the time when I did it, New York being the epicenter and people in this building being the largest in the tri-state, that has 5,000 employees that come in and out the building. The way I did it, it just, everything came together at the time. I pretty much emailed for weeks. I was leading up to this. I emailed the CDC, I emailed the health department, I emailed the state, I called the local police department. Emailed Governor Cuomo's office. I emailed Mayor de Blasio's office. I did everything I could before I even went up the chain in the building. HR, the general manager, the head of HR. I did everything in my power to prevent even getting to the media. When I realized that it didn't, I had to take further action by contacting the media. So I spent weeks doing that. And then I believe my strongest weapon was telling them that I was going to have a walkout. And when they published my article, I knew there was no turning back. I knew it had to be somebody that was embedded with the company as long as I have, or else nobody else would have did it. It would have been nobody else. I've been with the company since 2015, opened up 3 major buildings for them in the tri-state. Started off in New Jersey, transferred to Connecticut, then lastly being Staten Island, New York. I worked with thousands of people over the course of the years, trained hundreds of managers. So I just felt like I was in that position where people will actually listen to me. And I think that's what kind of happened. The world kind of gravitated to my situation. A lot of people related to that, and then it just expanded from there. What I'm doing now also resonates with everybody because we all want some type of change. And I'm trying to organize the largest workforce in the nation. It's a tough task to take on. But with the platform that I have, I'm being the voice of the voiceless, speaking up for those who have underlying health conditions, speaking up for those who are 18, 19, 20, living home with their parents, who are telling them not to go to work because they're sick, and speaking up for the senior citizens that had to stay home for the last 2 months. So what I'm doing is using my platform and speaking up for these voices. And I believe everybody wants some type of change. So I'm trying to organize something that's going to benefit all the employees of Amazon.
And that's one of the things that I want to highlight is you talk about some of these teens they're living at home with the parents. One of the things that we don't realize when we're talking about these positions, they're low paying positions, right? These are not living wage positions. You've got to live with other folks. You got to live with roommates. So effectively, workers are subsidizing the profits of the company of Jeff Bezos. Yeah. By having to live in groups, having to do whatever you can. You were talking about rideshare together with other folks to get to work, because we're not paying a living wage, right? Yep. If we just had the minimum wage from the 1970s, just simply tagged to inflation, it would be $33 an hour today. I'm sure that's not what you were making at Amazon.
No, I was making 25 when I got terminated, and people. And
that was after 5 years.
Right, and people would say $25 an hour. Living in New York and New Jersey, that's nothing. No. You have to be in a relationship. That's how I usually put it in. Whether it's a good or bad relationship, but you have to be. I think you have to have an income, a second income.
But that's kind of the deal, right? I mean, they want us to be struggling because you keep your mouth shut, right?
Right.
If you're struggling, you're dependent on the job, you're less likely to do what you did, which was stand up.
And Chris, you're taking care of children, and they know that. They know that each and every person there has bills to pay and responsibilities. And that exactly is why I say billionaires can't earn their billions, they exploit it. Because it's not that any of us can just become billionaires. You have to cheat your workers out of money and take it all for yourself. That's how you become a billionaire in this country. And we're hearing about
or anywhere.
Yeah. We're hearing how this happens. The richest guy in the world is paying somebody who worked at his company for 5 years $25 an hour and fires him for standing up for his safety.
Not only that, they held a smear campaign. Well, tried to, at least, before it got leaked. So that just tells you right there that they don't care about people.
Well, it's a good thing he doesn't own like a big media corporation or anything.
Right. But everything happens for a reason. And I felt like even though this virus is the real enemy, it exposed a lot that needed to be exposed. And I
Well,
believe,
yeah, you're right. I mean, some of the things that this virus has exposed is the failure of our private employer-based healthcare system, right? Were you getting healthcare benefits through Amazon?
yeah, I was, but not anymore.
So what are you doing now? What are you and your kids dependent on for healthcare now?
Thank God their mother is a first responder. She's a nurse, so they have insurance still, and they're in good health care.
But you don't.
But yeah, me, I don't have any.
No,
And,
I mean, and that's the thing. We need to have a single payer Medicare for all system that's going to make sure that we all have the healthcare that we need. I mean, with this crisis, if we don't take care of everybody, we're not going to get rid of this crisis.
yeah,
That's the whole thing. Like, Chris, if you got fired, if you had COVID-19 right now, you'd be going into lifetime's worth of medical debt to seek the treatment that you need. This is the middle of a pandemic that's killing thousands of people, and people are losing their jobs and losing their health insurance. And if this isn't pointing to the fact that every single person should be guaranteed health care as a human right, then I don't know what the hell will. What?
No.
Seriously,
Right.
we got 30 million people without jobs right now. That's 30 million families without healthcare.
Right. And these billionaires don't care. To them, we're replaceable, we're expendable. That's how they look at it. That's why Amazon is hiring 175,000 people in the middle of a pandemic, because the people that haven't shown up to work, those are the people they're replacing. The people that they terminated during this time, those are the people that they're replacing. And we're only meeting the demands of Jeff Bezos' pockets. We're not meeting anybody else.
We are not expendable. It's the billionaires that are expendable.
Right.
I don't see Jeff Bezos delivering packages.
Yeah, he's not packing the box and he's not doing what we've done. But at the same time, in their mind, that's how they think, that their money can just buy their way out of anything, any situation. But I believe that this time is different because it's life or death. And that's another reason why I was able to get this platform, because what I'm speaking up for, that's what it's for. It's for helping health and life, humanity. It's for people to live. Ultimately, whether you're a first responder, a frontliner, MTA worker, transit worker, teachers, for my children to grow up in a society where they don't have to go through something like this ever again. So that's what I'm trying to provide, and hopefully that we get something done, because the time is now.
Now, are you getting any kind of support or aid from any organizations or individuals coming your way?
I have a GoFundMe up that I'm raising money for the employees that have been unpaid up until present day. I've been raising money since day one to support them. I actually paid out over $10,000 to employees of JFK 8. So that's what I'm doing instead, because the richest man in the world won't pay these employees. I took it upon myself to start a GoFundMe, which can
we get that listed up on where your name is? If you click on your photo, I think you can put up the link where your name is.
Okay. Yeah, I guess I'll put it up there. Oh yeah. So
and we can throw that link up on our Twitter. Joshua, if you could get on that. I know you're watching from our team. So
yeah, it's actually on my Twitter handle. If he can actually just copy and paste it for us.
Okay, we'll throw it up there.
Well, yeah, that money that I'm raising is going towards the employees. I paid out over $10,000 already. I've been sending money out every day to employees that reach out to me that's in need. We all in need right now.
I'm sorry. I gotta bust out the irony of this. We are in the richest nation in the country, and we gotta take care of regular working people through GoFundMe.
Who work
instead of having a government that's going to take care of us. That is ridiculous.
That works for the richest man in the world. So I'll tell you one story. I have one friend that actually had to sleep in his car for about 5 days. One of my former colleagues who I helped train into a supervisor position, he didn't want to get his employees in his department sick. but he has a wife and 3 kids at home. He got sick during the pandemic. He didn't know whether it was the virus or not. So instead of going in the house or going to work, he slept in his car for 5 days. And he's
It's
been
so selfless.
and those are the type of calls and emails that I receive every single night. Different stories from different individuals from all over the nation about how this virus working for Amazon has affected them and their family. I'm talking about mothers send me emails about their kids and vice versa. Young adults sending me emails about their parents working there. And this is the reason why I continue to fight, because I know I'm speaking up for them. You know, they want me to help them some way, somehow, and I'm trying to the best I can.
So I wanted to go back to something you had said earlier, which is you were talking about how you organized a walkout. Can you walk me through what that looked like, what the steps you took were?
Sure. Everything I did was strategic. I knew this, you know, something about Amazon. They run off of metrics. You know, it's funny that they say that they don't have the numbers of how many cases they have, but we all know that's a lie. But that week, on that Friday, the Friday before they quarantined me, I had an intense argument with the general manager and the head of HR. And they printed out the CDC guidelines and slapped it on the table for me to read. It's like this big old packet. And I'm like, well, I don't give a damn about what this packet is. They're obviously not working. So this building needs to be closed down for a minimum of 14 days. They weren't having it. They were going back and forth with me. But I did manage to glance at it. And I did see at one section, it said, if you have a case in your building, to reduce the workforce by 75% or something like that. And I'm like, well, we're not going to be able to do that. But they actually did try to do that. I think they caught wind of me mobilizing our rumors in the building about a walkout on that Monday. They tried to reduce the workforce. They offered VTO, which is voluntary time off. And I'm like, wait a second, we're essential right now. We're in high demand, according to you guys. Why are you, and you're hiring, why are you reducing the workforce by sending everybody home?
Voluntary time off. Do you get paid for voluntary time off?
You don't get paid, but you get to go home. But so I'm like, on a Friday, which is usually a busy day for Amazon, and I was just putting 2 and 2 together, like, why are they reducing it? Because if the health department came there, they will be in compliance to the CDC guidelines. They will have
for social distancing.
Right, they reduced their workforce, so they would be in compliance. So I knew what they were doing. So
you can leave for no pay so that they don't get fined.
And not only that, you know, they caught wind of me because I threatened them pretty much. I told them, like, if you don't do something, I'm going to do something. I told them straight up, like, hey, they're like, what are you going to do? And I'm like, don't worry about it. And I brought up the Kentucky building that actually protested that week. And I said, well, Kentucky closed down because they protested. So they're like, wait, what are you going to do? I'm like, okay, if you guys want to play dumb with me, I'm going to play dumb with you. If you don't do nothing, then I'm going to do something. And the health department will be called. And I told them that. So that's when they started to reduce the workforce. I seen it right there on the spot. They tried to do it. So anyway, when I got quarantined Saturday, because it was a shock to me, I came in the next day to sit in the cafeteria for another 8-hour day. They quarantined me early in the morning, just by word of mouth. They came to me and was like, hey, Smalls, you got to go because we looked at the tape and you came in contact. I'm like, well, duh, I told you that the entire week. Not only me, but my entire department. But so what about them? Or what about the person I ride to work with? And they were like, no, it's just you. So I said, just me? Okay, no problem. Cool, I left. I went home, and I felt defeated for a second. I felt like, all right, they got me. You know, they quarantined me. But I said, you know what? No, I'm not going to give up. What I'm going to do is mobilize the walkout. So I got a team that's working over the weekend. They were passing out notes, sort of like a secret Mission Impossible thing. They photocopy all these notes. They put them in the girls' bathroom, the guys' bathroom. They did it overnight. I had made a phone call to the cleaning crew, told them not to throw away any secret notes that you see around the building. You know, everything came together at the right time, even to the point of the time of the walkout. I made sure I scheduled it for lunchtime, which is 12:30. Perception is everything. So the media was asking how many people was going to walk out, and I knew I had to sell them. So I told them, I don't know, maybe 200. I don't know, maybe 100. I didn't give them a real number, but I gave them a high number, which would get them to come out. And that's exactly what happened. The whole world came out that day. I knew it was real when I seen the helicopter. So when I got there at 12:30, nobody came out. But I looked at the weather that day. It was 65 degrees, which is nice over here during that time. And I'm like, working at Amazon, if it's a nice day, I know everybody likes to eat lunch outside.
Mm-hmm.
So they wanted to walk out. They got to walk out. At 12:35, about 50 to 60 people started walking out the door. That was able to give me the platform. The people that spoke to the media did a great job telling the truth about what's going on, and the rest was history. That right there was a successful walkout to me. That's all we needed.
It's amazing. Thank you so much for having that bravery and also just skill to organize something like that. It's amazing.
Thank you.
Well, it was 134 years ago that we had the Haymarket riots in Chicago, and that's what got us the 8-hour workday. These kind of organization from workers is what truly affects change. I mean, I think there's a lot that can be done through electing the right folks to get into office, but there's also something to be said about organizing workers.
Yes.
What are some of the things that you think we ought to be doing in order to better protect workers' rights?
Right now, we all got to come together in solidarity. That's what it's about right now. A lot of the unions that we have, they still seem to be sort of divisive. I'm all for the unions. I support the unions. Unions support me as well. But at the same time, there's still some that leave a bad taste in some of the employees' mouth. And, I can't speak for that, but I can try to create something where the employees will feel more comfortable with signing up for. And I believe something ran employee-driven, a democracy, a rank and file committee, something of that nature is the best tool right now for the employees for Amazon. This workforce is large. It's 600,000 employees nationwide.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think one particular union will be able to handle that, because obviously the employees' biggest concerns is where their money going to go for the union dues. You're walking into a gold pot as a union if you are able to unionize this workforce. So I believe if the employees see transparency, have some say in the contracts, negotiations, but it's still employee driven, something where they can vote, something that they have a democracy, a say in what happens with their contracts. I feel like that's more beneficial for this workforce. And I feel like if we're able to do this, if I'm able to accomplish that, other corporations will fall in line, because
right.
the biggest threat to them is being a union.
Yeah.
So that's our.
I think that when we talk about at-will employment, it truly is at the will of the employer.
Yes.
And I think we need to get and shift more to contract work. We need to shift more to having set contracts for employees. And that means strengthening unions. That means passing the PRO Act. It means, having it make it a lot easier for people to organize, to create union votes to see whether a group of workers want to unionize. Because I think in general, when we have more union power, more union strength, we see an increase in the living wages and the quality of life for workers. And over the last 40 years, we've just seen this concentration of wealth to the very top, while the rest of us are struggling. We're struggling to make bills. We're struggling with rent. We're struggling with making decisions on whether to buy an extra loaf of bread or to buy a pair of shoes for a kid. And that is not right. In the wealthiest country, we should not have billionaires and one that's almost a trillionaire when we have people that are living on the streets right now that can't that are getting evicted. And I think that we need to do everything we can to strengthen unions. We need to do everything we can to make it easier for people to organize. And I think we need to really take a serious look at this whole at-will employment regime that we have, because quite frankly, I don't know how at-will it truly is.
Right.
That's why I support, for example, we can legislate what working conditions are. We can say what kind of terms companies need to follow in order to end somebody's employment. We can also make it mandatory that there's a certain amount of paid leave.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I think, like you said, Medicare for all is something we need to fight for, but also something that
and that benefits corporations.
Exactly.
That takes something off of their hands, off of their shoulders, and puts it onto the shoulders of the government.
It speaks to the fact that they don't want you to be able to leave and still have health insurance, because it's cheaper for them to fight for Medicare for all. But it's clear what their intentions are, so you don't leave. And also,
they have control over you.
Yes, they have your ball and chain to them. And also, we need a federal jobs guarantee, because a lot of people are stuck in these work conditions and they just don't have any other options. They don't know where else to turn for a paying job, and they're afraid to leave, so they just stay. And that's a condition that so many people are stuck in our society, because that's what kind of society our representatives have set up for us.
But that's, that's what you're talking about when you're talking about before COVID, 2 to 3%, 4 to 5% unemployment. That was the cushion that the corporations had, basically to say you're expendable, right?
Yes.
We can pick next, right? But with a federal jobs guarantee, you've got 100% employment. You can't do that anymore, and you cannot have that low suppressed wage anymore.
I did a survey once about how many people would leave their jobs if they had another one available to them, and
so many.
For all, it was like 70%.
Yeah.
Just think about that. That would also mean that these asshole companies like Amazon would have to actually try to keep employees somehow by increasing
their benefits, their quality of life, their quality of work.
Yes.
Not treat them like they're expendable cogs.
Yeah, because who's going to stay whenever they can leave and have more benefits?
Right.
And not be exposed to COVID-19 for profit.
Yeah.
Right.
So there's a lot of work to be done within the halls of Congress, but there's also a lot of organizing that needs to be done with workers.
Yes.
It's about solidarity. It's about coming together, because if there's only one head sticking up, that's easy to chop off. But if there's hundreds, if there's thousands, that's another story. We have strength in numbers. We have strength in solidarity. So we need to realize that we have the power, and it's not just those at the very top. They got the money, but we've got the boots.
Yep.
And with that, I think we're about 10 minutes out from the top of the hour, so wanted to give everyone a chance to talk about their campaign, and wanted to give Chris a chance to talk about how you can help him moving forward. So why don't we start with you, Chris?
Sure. So for those who don't know, I announced yesterday, I believe, I put it on my Twitter handle as well. I'm going to be launching an organization called TCOEW, the Congress of Essential Workers, nationwide within the next couple of weeks. This is going to be a nonprofit organization, which is going to be the rank and file committee, hopefully, to unionize with a union-like structure for Amazon employees. I don't want to call it a union per se, but I want to use a union-like structure, because I feel like I said, I'm pro-union. Unions do great things for, some corporations. Not all of them, but I do want to make sure that this one has that structure, but at the same time, it's employee-driven, and it's a rank and file committee for the employees of Amazon nationwide. So TCOEW.org will be up and running in a couple of weeks. So just stay tuned, stay in touch, and definitely support as we make more further announcements.
Thank you so much. Lauren, tell us a little bit about your campaign.
Yeah, so my election is June 23rd. We've had a lot of shenanigans in terms of inserting some confusion into our race. My election always has been, always will be June 23rd, and it's going to be done via absentee ballot for the most part. So how you can make sure your voice is heard is everyone who is a registered voter in the state of New York is going to get an application that they have to fill out to get their absentee ballot. You have to send that back when you get it. The alternative is to go to nycabsentee.com, fill that out. It took me maybe 20 seconds, and that is your application already done. You'll get your absentee ballot in the mail next. When you get it, make sure to fill it out as instructed. Let us know if you have any questions. Go to laurenashcraft.com. And contact us. We will walk you through the entire process, answer any questions you have. This election is so important because this is your choice. You can have the status quo, which, how's that working? Seriously, how is it working that we are represented by somebody that was trying to bring more Amazon to us and make us more dependent on Jeff Bezos? Or you can have somebody like me that wants to bring down Jeff Bezos and tax him his fair share and keep him from becoming a trillionaire. So definitely sign up to help us make calls, laurenashcraft.com. You can also donate. Every dollar helps us make 20 calls, so it's a really big deal for us, and it really does matter. So anyway, I also wanted to say thank you to Chris for doing everything that you do and representing workers that you don't even know. That's amazing, and everyone should learn from your example of your bravery and selflessness. And also Albert Lee's campaign and team, thank you for hosting this evening tonight. It's really an honor to be partnered with you in this movement.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. And finally, Albert.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you, Lauren. Thank you, Chris, for all participating today. Especially you, Chris. Want to highlight you as a champion that you are. This is something that we need to see more of. We need to see more individuals standing up like you have, standing up to fight for somebody you don't know. I mean, that's the Nina Turner name, right? Fight for somebody you don't know. We've got to stand up. We've got to have the empathy. We've got to have the understanding and the care and the concern for everyone else that's working on this small planet that we share. We need to have not only a government that works for all of us and not just those at the very top, but we need to rebuild and strengthen our communities so that we come together as one people again. We've got so many different forces out there that are trying to tear us apart. We've got so many different forces that are trying to pit us against each other because they don't want us to look up, right? Because the problem is up. It's the Jeff Bezos, it's the billionaires that are the problem. When we've got 26 people that own as much as the bottom 3.9 billion people, that's a problem. That kind of concentration of wealth is immoral, it is unjust, it is unsustainable, and it is the root of the reasons why we have all the issues that we face. We need to take care of that. And the only way we're going to do that is to start thinking for ourselves, start standing up for ourselves, start realizing our own worth, okay? Chris is worth as much as Jeff Bezos. You are worth as much as everyone else on this planet. And we've got to start standing up for ourselves. We need to have a future for this planet. We need to have a future for our kids. When I was looking at entering this race, I'm running because I believe that democracy requires choice. It's something we simply haven't had here in over a generation. We face a series of crises that have been allowed to fester and grow, not only in this district, but across the country and around the world. I'm talking about our homelessness crisis. I'm talking about the lack of living wages, the lack of affordable housing that places way too many of us in the struggling class. I'm looking at the Democratic Party, and I believe in their basic tenets more than they do, because I believe in the basic tenets when it comes to diversity, equity, and inclusion. I believe that it's time that we uplift some new voices. from some other backgrounds, from some other lived experiences to represent us here in the most diverse district of our state. I think that if we continue to have all of our representatives be multimillionaire career politicians, we're just not going to get to the workable solutions that we have, because they're not going to, they're going to have the blind spots that, that quite frankly, we're missing the perspective of other folks. You know, it's time that we end this oligarchy, this rule by elite multimillionaire politicians, and replace them with citizen representatives who know the struggle of working everyday people, who won't take the corporate contributions like Lauren and I don't, who are going to stand up for all of us and not just those at the very top. So with us, y'all already know we're in the middle of our election cycle right now. We've been the original vote by mail state, so we've been at it for the last 3 weeks with voting. If you haven't had an opportunity to turn in your ballot, you've got until tomorrow to put it in the mail. And you've got until next Tuesday at 8 p.m. to drop it off at a ballot box. But I'm asking for your vote. I'm asking for you to have the courage to stand up, to say enough is enough, to say that it's time that we end 24 years of the same representative not doing a whole lot for us, and get somebody that's going to stand up and fight for all of us. So I'm asking for your vote, and I'm asking for you to put it in before the 19th. But not only that, I think that we need to have and support all of our progressive challengers around the country. We've got hundreds, okay, that have stood up this cycle, that have taken the courage to stand up, to say enough is enough, to say that we can't continue to do the same thing and expect a different result. So with that, I don't want to go on, but please vote. Vote Albert Lee by May 19th. Vote Lauren Ashcraft by June
23rd.
23rd. Okay. And thank you. Thank you, Sam.
Thank you. And I want to thank everyone also at home for tuning in and watching this. This is one of the most important things that you can educate yourself on, is the various workers' strikes and union related issues that are going on right now. This too often gets swept under the rug by the mainstream news. So we have to be listening to each other. We're in this together. But thank you so much for taking the time to watch this. This is extraordinarily important. All right. I think that'll do it for us. Bye.
Wait, no, you got one more thing to say, Mr. Moderator.
What do I have to say?
United we bargain.
Alone we beg.
Right? Solidarity.
Thank you.
Bye. Thanks.